We're now starting match one of the recent Dredge Legacy LED Dredge League. I haven't played this in a while. I haven't played LED Dredge in a while, so this is going to be a bit of a relearning experience for me. I can still remember, I can still play it to a moderate extent, but we're going to make a lot of mistakes throughout this league, I think. We had to mull the first hand because it did nothing. We're going to mull the second as well because, once again, it does nothing. LED Dredge, you need to mulligan relatively aggressively, more aggressively than I like in other decks. It does, however, recover from mulligans considerably better than I think almost any other deck in the format, barring maybe something like Red-Black Reanimator. The reason being, there are 3 to 4 card hands that are just likely to get somewhere close to winning you the game. Our opponent's going down as well, or at least down to 6. Okay, and we're going to keep this hand. We're going to be soft to something like a turn 1 Force of Will on a Putrid Imp. But I don't really foresee much else causing us a problem. We've kept the Troll on top, just as that lets us... maybe we should have bottomed the Troll. I think we should have bottomed the Troll, just because it gives us a better chance of drawing into a second discard outlet if the Imp gets forced. And if the Imp resolves, we're going to be able to keep running out the Thug endlessly anyway. We'll pitch the Prized Amalgam now. We're pitching it because, realistically, because of this. If we hit a Narcomoeba, it's going to enter play at the end of turn. Having said that, we probably could have waited till a Narcomoeba trigger. We'll attack. In the attacker step, we can actually discard the Thug, which I think we want to be doing. We don't really want to trade with the Dryad Arbor just yet. The Putrid Imp is actually quite valuable in a long game, which it looks like this is going to be. Just because it keeps letting you make sure that you never have to worry about your Grave Trolls, etc. getting stranded in hand. Scavenging Ooze is probably a bit of an issue if the game goes long enough, which it's somewhat shaping up to be. However, I think we're going to attack here. So the advantage for us at the moment is trading. Yeah, so we can't trade the Scavenging Ooze here. The advantage for us just at this second is that we've got a lot more bodies on the field, and we care a lot less about our bodies. We can more or less keep recurring them. Scavenging Ooze makes it harder, but not impossible, and our opponent actually has to keep casting things out. I think Dark Confidant is also of minimal concern. And our opponent has a decision about whether or not to eat the Grave Troll. He's made the right choice. I don't think there's a particularly good incentive to eat the Troll here. So I think, yeah, so he's making the right block here. He is trading the Scavenging Ooze for the Putrid Imp, which forces us to act, and he gets to pump his Scavenging Ooze, which means that we don't get to keep our creature, and we only get to punch through 4 damage. It also puts Grave Trolls in the bin, where he can actually start eating them. So we're priced into discarding both now and trying to dredge off a Thug next turn, I think. While he, in the meantime, gets to continue with his game plan. And it's only going to get worse for us from here. So he's had to eat our biggest dredges, which on one level gives us a little bit of hope. We still have a dredger, and if we flip something like an Archimedes, it's now going to enter play uninhibited. And we just don't have a way of getting through the Scavenging Ooze there. I think that's reasonable to just pack it in there. We're planning on beating Ley Lines and Containment Priests here. So Ley Lines, we need removal. We need enchantment removal. Containment Priest, we need Firestorm. Firestorm also does work against things like the Scavenging Ooze that locked us out of game 1, as well as dealing with just things like Bob and even potentially Knight, which are other potential threats in the matchup. We're going to keep this hand, I think. So we're going to hope to careful study into probably another land. And we have he's mulliganing for a ley line by the looks of it. So this isn't even going to be a game. I can only assume that my opponent decided to mulligan for a ley line. I think that's always a very terrible plan against any kind of graveyard deck. People get very caught up in trying to mulligan for hate, when realistically what they need to be doing is mulliganing for a playable hand. Whereas if they just mulligan for hate, they have a tendency to just straight up lose the game. On the flip side, that Wasteland there slows us down a lot. We do, however, already have our engine online. Had our engine online. He's managed to draw a remarkably hateful hand for a mull to nothing. On the other hand, I think at the moment our plan is to dredge the Grave Troll. Yeah, and we'll Cephalid Colosseum next turn, and he has to scoop anyway. I think we're happy with what we've done. There's an argument to bring in the 4th Icarid in matches like this, which tend to be grindy. Probably should have kept that first hand. We definitely want to keep this second hand. And we really, really, really want to dodge a Chalice of the Void. At least for a couple of turns. So the Firestorm itself is able to pitch us dredges without, or even through a Chalice. Realistically, though, the LED is very much hinging on us. The only way we're getting value out of the LED, which we kind of really want to get value out of, is if we manage to dodge Chalice on 1. And unfortunately, we're not in a position to do so. Our opponent managed to find the Chalice fairly quickly. And we'll just pitch our Firestorm. We don't need to pitch the bridge at the moment. We can crack our LED later on to drop the bridge. I think we want to crack the LED in... Actually, we're not priced in to crack the LED just yet. I think we probably just want to take take our Stinkweed Imp draw next turn. So Zenith is going to be for Scavenging Ooze. means we're in a little bit of strife here. Because our opponent at the second can... So we can make... So we can flashback a therapy, make a zombie with our Narcomoeba. I don't think that's a particularly good reason to crack the LED right now. I think it's better off held, and our opponent can starting to go through our graveyard now. We've been a little bit handicapped by our slower than ideal start. Maybe we should have mulled a tiny bit more aggressively, but I think I kept a reasonable hand here. Not amazing, but good enough. We're fine to be wastelanded. It's going to stop us from recasting our 2 mana creatures, but we haven't even found them yet. I also think our opponent is probably better off if they can deploying a threat. Yep. And I think this is our chance to pop our LED. So we're going to do that so we can dredge the troll. Hopefully the troll's going to hit a Narcomoeba. The Narcomoeba is going to trigger Amalgam, and this is going to put a good number of bodies on the board. Now, the problem that we have at the second is that the Scavenging Ooze can eat our bridge. Dark Confidant will almost definitely find him a second land. And it will very likely be able to find whatever land he finds will very likely include a green source. So Scavenging Ooze is going to be online very soon. Okay, so we got pretty lucky in that he hit a Leyline of the Void. So we're getting relatively close now to we just need to find a way to push through. We're desperate to be able to reanimate the Icarid. Which we're actually going to be able to do because our opponents decided to eat our Grave Troll instead, which I think is just wrong. So here I think we're just going to therapy our opponent, get another zombie off the Icarid. And we're just trying to put as many bodies on the board as we can. And just try to win a slow attrition war. So we're seeing right now Dredge's ability to grind. We're not winning with a very fast combo. We're at the moment just trying to go a little bit wider than our opponent. Just have better threats. Scavenging Ooze is strong, but ours are just proving to be a little bit too much for our opponent. And given enough time, we're just trying to prevent him from getting enough time to actually win with the Scavenging Ooze. So we now get to bash in for 9. Our opponent has to block and he's probably going to want to block a zombie, which means we're going to be able to push through 7. And so he's going to be on 5 next turn. So shouldn't be blocking the Amalgam, I don't think. The Amalgam leaves us with the same number of bodies on the board, which is a real big problem for him. So I think that was a bit of a punt. We're going to hope that we get our Icarid. and that he decides to go after our dredges. Okay, so the ramming up excavator doesn't get him out of this. Because once again, we've gone wide enough just to be able to push through the final points of damage no matter what happens here. So here we're just going to move to combat. He can block 2 zombies, and then he's going to have to concede the match.